Hey, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for 5 Minutes in the Word. We are so glad you decided to join with us this afternoon. Today, we're going to be in Genesis 29, so please grab your Bible, turn over there with us, and we'll begin our study together today. As we look into Genesis chapter 29, we see that we're talking about Jacob. Now, at this point in Jacob's life, he has already left his father's house. He has already fled from his brother Esau. You see, Jacob has not always been the best brother. And in fact, one day Esau, he came into the house. He was tired. He was hungry. He was wanting some food. Jacob's been in the house. He's been cooking. He's been preparing a meal. And Esau asked Jacob for some food. And Jacob, he's willing to give him food, but he wants something in return. He wants Esau's birthright. Well, Esau doesn't think he's going to need his birthright if he dies of hunger. So he does agree to trade his birthright for some food. So Jacob, he takes the birthright in this case, but it's not the only thing that Jacob takes from Esau. Later on, Jacob would go to impersonate Esau, to pretend to be Esau. He changes his appearance and everything like that, all to get a blessing from their father. This is the blessing that would have normally gone to the older son, that should have gone to Esau. And so here in this instance, he has now taken the blessing. He has now taken the birthright. Esau is angry with his brother. Now, Rebekah, she has a plan. Her plan, her idea is to send Jacob to her people, to the house of Laban. And so Jacob is sent on his way to go to Laban. And so here in chapter 29, we find him continuing his journey. And it says there in verse 1, Then Jacob went on his journey and came to the land of the people of the east. As he looked, he saw a well in the field, and behold, 3 flocks of sheep lying beside it. For out of the well the flocks were watered. The stone in the well's mouth was large, and when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone from the mouth of the well and water the sheep and put the stone back in the place of the mouth of the well. So Jacob's going to speak to the shepherds, and he says to them, My brothers, where do you come from? They said, We are from Haran. He said to them, Do you know Laban the son of Nahor? They said, We know him. He said, Is it well with him? They said, It is well. And see, Rachel, his daughter, is coming with the sheep. And so here Jacob, he's going to look up, and he's going to see Rachel. He's going to see that she's coming there to water these sheep. And so upon her arrival, Jacob is the one that he removes the stone from the well. He waters all of the sheep of Laban. And then he goes up to Rachel, and he kisses Rachel, and he weeps aloud. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's kinsman, that he was Rebekah's son. And so she's going to run, and she's going to go tell her father. Now, when Laban hears of this, he is going to run. He's going to embrace Jacob. He's going to kiss him, and he's going to bring him to the house. And so Jacob's going to stay with him for a while. And after some time, Jacob's going to become one of Laban's servants. But Laban does not want Jacob to work for nothing. And so he says, Tell me what your wages shall be. That is in verse 15. Now Laban had 2 daughters, Leah and Rachel. And Rachel, according to Jacob, was just far more beautiful. So she was beautiful in form and appearance. And Jacob loved Rachel. Now this is how much he loved her. Jacob agreed to work for 7 years for Rachel. He loved Rachel. He wanted to marry her. He wanted her to be his wife. And so he agreed to work, and he does, and he works hard. Now at the end of that time, he's going to go to Laban. He's going to speak to Laban. He says this. And Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, that I may go into her, for my time is completed. So Laban gathered together all the people of the place and made a feast. So here Laban's going to have this party. He's going to have this feast all prepared, all with the idea that here is Rachel about to become the wife of Jacob. But that's not what happens. You see, that night, Laban brought Leah to Jacob, and he goes into her. The next morning, he finds out this is Leah, and he goes to Laban, and he's upset. He said, How could you do this to me? What is this you have done to me? He said, Did I not serve you for Rachel? He said, Why did you deceive me? Now Laban goes on to explain that it was not their custom for the younger to marry before the older. And so this is what he tells Jacob that needs to be done. He said, Complete the week for this one, and we will give you the other one also in return for serving me another 7 years. So here he is asked to serve another 7 years. He has to wait. He has to complete the week of this one. Then he's going to be given Rachel. So then Laban, so that's what Jacob did. So then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Now, here he's going to end up having to work for 14 years to have the wife that he wanted, to have the woman that he loved, to have Rachel. Now, in this, Rachel and Leah both have servants. Now, through those two women, through Rachel, through Leah, through the two servants, Jacob is going to be blessed with multiple children. And God's with him. God's with him through all of this. God has continued to bless Laban because of Jacob. God has been there with Jacob through all of this. He's with him through everything. And what I want us to notice today from the life of Jacob is that here he is, and he loves Rachel so much that he's willing to work 7 years. And then upon being deceived and being tricked and being given Leah instead, he's actually willing to work another 7 years. And in fact, he keeps on going and he keeps on working in order to provide, have livestock and have the property and the wealth that he needs to take care of his family. He ends up working another 6 years. So he ends up working a total of 20 years here for Laban, all to provide for, all to have the wife that he wanted, all to have the financial stability that he wanted, to have the wealth that he would need to take care of all of his family. When we look at Jacob's life, we might not agree for certain kind of, trade-offs like that, work 7 years for having a wife or things of that sort. But we see the kind of effort that Jacob was willing to go to for someone that he loved. He loved Rachel, and he was willing to work hard for her. He was willing to work those first 7 years. He was willing to work a second 7 years. He was willing to put in the work and time to take care of all of his family and all of his children and all of these kind of things. And that just tells me something about him. He had a strong work ethic. He had something that was in him that drove him to be faithful, to seek after what he wanted, and for what he loved, to take care of that. And that tells me something and helps me to realize something that we need to notice in our relationship with God. Like Jacob was willing to work for something that he loved, we need to be willing to work for something that we love, and that someone is God. We need to be willing to put in the work day in and day out, just like Jacob did. We need to be willing to go and to give our lives fully over to something such as God, such as his kingdom, such as seeking after his righteousness, so that we can be pleasing before him. See, the thing is sometimes I don't know that we love God the way that we should. We claim we love God, but the way that we live our lives sometimes, it's kind of like Jacob's relationship with Leah. Yes, she was his wife, and yes, she gave him kids, but he never had the same relationship with her as he had with Rachel. We need to love God. We need to give our lives wholeheartedly to him and serve him. Be willing to put in the work. We also need to love other people. We need to love them in such a way that we want to see them come to Christ, that we're willing to put in that effort and to put in that work. And no matter what happens, no matter how the people around us are treating us, kind of like Laban in this story and how he mistreated Jacob over and over, and he changed the wages, no matter what other people around us do, we need to stay faithful. Stay faithful first and foremost to God, stay faithful to each other, so that we can show God living in us each and every day, and through it all, God may be glorified. Today, let's learn from Jacob's life. Let's learn to work. Let's learn to love. Let's learn to put in the effort in order to please God day in and day out. Thank you for joining us today for 5 Minutes in the Word, and we will see you all tomorrow for another 5 Minutes in the Word. Bye, everybody.